Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Kurosawa's Rashomon in 1950. Here it is on Blu-ray and of course a Criterion edition, so yes, wonderful, wonderful edition here. Now, this is a rewatch of course, I've seen this 2 times before this, so my third watch. Rewatched it on Sunday actually, so pretty late, but of course yes. I was just, really getting exact what I would give this film. Because yes, my grade boundaries have, since last watching this, have kind of adjusted a little bit and stuff. So yes, I wanted to be exact, and yes, I'm pretty sure now what I'd give this film. So yes, this film, it is of course very very acclaimed, one of the most acclaimed films of all time. Kurosawa, one of the greatest directors for me. I think Ozu's better, and actually Miyazaki, but so far. Kurosawa has, is one of my top 20 directors. Although Stray Dog is not. Stray Dog was kind of average for me. I think, it was fine. It was average. The rest of them have at least been very good, mostly great, and of course, some of my favorite films. Seven Samurai, Akira, and actually this film as well. This film is known to be one of his very best films. And of course. Yes, just kind of made him very, very, worldwide, kind of famous, of course. And this film is very, very unique. And of course, yes, I saw this back in 2015 for the first time. I saw this kind of very, very close to watching Akira for the first time. And actually, here's a secret. I actually thought, on first viewing, I thought this was actually better than Akira. And actually, since then, Akira has, and I've watched this actually the same amount of times now as Akira. 2 more rewatches since, of course, the first time round. I do actually think Akira's grown on me even more, so I do prefer Akira now. But the first time round, I think this one really just wowed me a bit more. So yes, this film is mind blowing. It really is. Of course, very very popular film. Even on IMDb, very very high. And yes. Very, very unique. Of course, this is one of the first kind of Kurosawas that was, as I say, worldwide successful. Kind of brought him to Western audiences more. Got their attention and stuff. And yes, so many people have kind of studied this film, and it really is a genius piece of film. It really is, and such an emotional one, and just a rawness to it, but also very, very beautiful film. There's so many things about how Kurosawa went about making this film. Of course, not a massive budget, and as well, he wanted to kind of bring back elements of silent films. So I think he was on point there because the silent era really is some of the very best films of all time. And actually, a lot of the best films that aren't silent do take so many elements from this, the kind of simplicity, the poetic kind of nature, the visuals, very very distinct things and stuff that people take from silent films and kind of develop them or just kind of make their own. And I think just in terms of visually, silent films really are so mostly so amazing. I think the very best silent films are right up there with the, for me, top 10 films actually, one of them. So yeah, we'll get to that at some point. But this film, Kurosawa kind of wanted to bring back the simplicity, visually at least, and the kind of the acting as well, the kind of rawness to it, and just, yes, the expressions rather than the dialogue to portray things. And of course, Toshirô Mifune. Wow, now this is a very, very famous performance from one of the most popular actors, of all time, certainly among film buffs. So yes. Toshirô Mifune, in this film, he is absolutely legendary, and of course, not everyone will like this performance. I feel, but it is, for me, an absolutely stunning one. Of course, he was told to kind of act, very very visceral, kind of like an animal, you could say, animalistic, and it really is a perfect performance for what he's trying to go for. And it really is, and it's of course, it's such a kind of, it's not subtle in many regards. It is very very big and kind of theatrical, but I think that's the whole point. And what it's trying to be, it is perfect for me. And I think actually there's so many different things within that, where you can see coming through, and that's the genius of it. It really is. It's kind of like Akira, Takashi Shimura, where he has, a lot of the time a similar sort of expression, but then you've got the little nuances that come through, and you kind of see the deep underlying emotion, and it's kind of similar to this, although very very different. Like you could say that's more subtle, and this is massive performance, very kind of theatre-esque, and yeah, it's just silent cinema kind of esque, and it really is stunning. Commands the screen every time, every scene that he's in, which is most of the film. But yes, of course, it's a very very simple story. Kind of basically this murder that's happened and this rape of this woman, in the woods, and basically the beginning. It's kind of like a prologue in the rain, and Kurosawa really uses rain perfectly to portray, kind of mood. But I absolutely love the way he kind of uses weather in his films. Seven Samurai as well. The final battle really is a perfect example of that. Of course, you could say snow in Akira as well. But yeah, this one, the way that rain is used is really stunning. It really is to create this mood, this atmosphere, and kind of just set the tone of the film. And it's kind of like it's inviting you in. There's this rain. They're kind of forced, these characters, the priest, of course, and the woodcutter and stuff, they're forced to kind of talk, put in a situation, and then they kind of recount what's happened. And it is the perfect setup for a perfect film as well. But yes, basically you get these different stories, 4 stories, perspectives of this kind of event. This kind of one event over this day, in the woods, and yes, it kind of all unfolds from there. It really is a very, very short film, very simple on the surface, but then it's how it's told, of course, which is what cinema is, of course. It's about how, a story, if you will, a narrative is told, and in this sense, this film is so unique, and it's all about the devices that, are used in this film, the kind of methods, and the overall kind of structure of the film, the energy of the film, to kind of tell the story. This is why it's so good. It really is a perfect film. The storytelling, of course, non-linear. Of course, many, it's kind of comparable to Usual Suspects at times as well. It's took some elements from this. I think this is better than that. Although a great film, Usual Suspects. Yes, this film is really, really stunning. The way it kind of non-linear, these flashbacks, and of course, it tries to, of course, get to the bottom of this murder, this rape. Of course, you see the different perspectives of, this kind of event. You see it told in different, fashions, and of course, you're kind of left to kind of piece together what actually happened. But really, at the end of the day, this is kind of not really about that. It's not about the exact event and what actually happened. It's more about the nature of truth and justice. And of course, he uses this kind of story, this very, kind of shocking event, and stuff to kind of get to that, the nature of truth. So that's the really unique thing about this. It's not really a thriller in the sense that, kind of whodunit as much. It is kind of just about, exploring this theme of truth, of justice, and actually making the message that at the end of the day, a lot of people, never really tell the truth, and how can you actually fully know the exact truth without kind of experiencing it for yourself? And of course, as a viewer, we don't really know, of course. You never really find out exactly what happened. It's kind of these different perspectives, which you can kind of choose or kind of mix and match and stuff. But because of that, kind of dreamlike effect it has as well, it's kind of a film that it's really not important, what actually happened in that sense of who done it. It's more about the theme of truth, of course, of justice, and just kind of saying something about humanity and the psychology of it all. It's a very, very intense film, of course. It is a dreamlike film, it really is. Kurosawa just puts you in this kind of transcendental state, kind of transfixes you. The first moments, of course, when Takashi Shimura's character, the woodcutter, goes into the woods, that is the perfect kind of way to kind of draw you in. It's kind of this really, really hot, of course, day in these woods. Of course, the way Kurosawa kind of shoots, just looking up vertically, at the trees and seeing the sun, flickering in the rays. It's just a perfect way to kind of visually, reel you into this kind of this dream, this kind of distortion. It kind of distorts, the kind of senses here, and it really is wonderful the way he shoots this, all these tracking shots. He really is a master of the visuals. In cinema, it really is stunning. And of course, the way he kind of he always has kind of energy within this frame. All of his films that I've seen, apart from maybe Stray Dog, the ones I've seen, because even Yojimbo, I don't think that's a masterpiece of first viewing. But I think the energy is always in the frame. There's always something going on. In this, of course, the bits where, of course, Toshirô Mifune is kind of going through the woods. He's running through, down the hill and everything. the way he shoots this is remarkable. It really is, of course. Kurosawa, of course, just kind of speeds everything up. He kind of has so much energy and flow to the kind of to the frame. There's always something going on, and you feel this, and you get so immersed. If this was shot, just long shot of Mifune running down the hill in a particular way, it would be flat. It would be very, very average. But Kurosawa does something. It's just genius to involve you in this, and it makes it seem like a thrilling, kind of experience of just a simple run down the hill. That's an example there, and of course, the fight scenes in this film are absolutely masterful. I think better than Yojimbo, for example, with the samurai fights. And of course, it's very, very different. It's not kind of heroic, one-sided kind of stuff like Yojimbo more is. You could say, although yeah, he's an anti-hero in that Mifune, but this is very, very different. This is kind of a tragic fight, a tragedy, and it's also more character driven in its actual choreography than say Yojimbo for me. That's more stylistic and stuff, which is great, but this one is more about it's kind of an extension of the character's emotions. It really is a perfect fight scene. The choreography is raw, it's visceral. It's kind of so involving, and it's just a desperate fight. At times, especially one of the ones later on in the film, the other kind of portrayal of that. It really is a desperate fight, and of course, the centerpiece of the film is just an explosion of kind of creativity in all this kind of stuff. The action is absolutely stunning. Of course, many will find it low key, but for me, it's genius. I think Kurosawa really can be studied. How he shoots action, and he's one of the best for me of all time. I think really is a genius here. Of course, Mifune, it's just this is a physical performance. I think you can talk about films like Rage and Bull and stuff, and you can put this as another example of just a pure, physical performance. Just in the kind of the stature, the kind of the movements, the face as well. Everything about this, is it's animalistic, but it's so kind of relatable as well. It's so human. This character, and as well. It's just a kind of a film that doesn't really show any bias as well in that sense of the different perspectives, stuff. And really, it's not a film, as I say, about who done it. It's about the nature of truth, and of course, just the joy of seeing such an energetic film. Really, I think this is just an absolutely stunning film, and really, it is one of my favourites among them. Into my top 200 films, and of course, an absolute masterpiece of cinema. And of course, the music in this film is used wonderfully as well. Really is an operatic film. It's essentially the kind of centerpiece of the film. As I said, the music used here, it's kind of the kind of big event in the middle of the film. It's kind of very, very tragic and everything, and it's very, very intense. And this music is used in the background. This kind of classical piece, and it's just a kind of genius way to kind of move this film and create kind of an operatic sequence. It really is. And for me, the final act of the film is probably the best. I think this is when it all comes together wonderfully. The real kind of genius of the film shines through here the first time round, and then you kind of rewatch it and you know exactly what this film's about. As I say, it's not a thriller, whodunit kind of thing. It is more than that. And it says many different things, about humanity in general, the nature of truth, the nature of kind of justice, and kind of it just explores many, many different themes, and it really is for me one of the best films of all time. Among them, not one of the very, very, very best. Like say Akira, but as well Seven Samurai for me personally. But this one is definitely, apart from them, the best Kurosawa that I've seen, because this is for me a lot better than Yojimbo and Hidden Fortress. But this one, yes. If you have not seen this, I would highly recommend it, of course. It's one of the masterpieces of cinema. It really is a flawless film. I think everything about it, the performances, not just Mifune, Shimura as well, Minoru, Chiaki, all wonderful in this film. And of course, very small cast, but they're all amazing in the film. It's just staggering. And of course, it's kind of this beautiful kind of cinematography, the kind of Kurosawa creates this dreamlike effect. It really is kind of a fantasy film, and I say this a lot, probably sounding like a broken record now, but I do think the best way, the best films for me blend reality and fantasy, and I think the combination of the raw energy, animalistic performances, the kind of close-ups. It's very, very risky to put, kind of a very, big performance like this in a close-up, and of course a testament to how Kurosawa frames, and also how, Mifune kind of pulls off a kind of, over-the-top performance, you could say. But it's so perfect in that, and of course the way it's framed, the editing, it really is genius. And yes, of course, as I say, the performances are so wonderful, and of course it is a fantasy film. I think in that sense it's not really a kind of realistic thriller at all. It's not meant to be that, and it's meant to be a callback, of course, to silent films. And in that, it really is perfect. Of course, I think this film is genius. The script is so spiritual. It really is. Of course, very, very thought-provoking, and just a sharp script where the kind of enough mystery is there, but enough is kind of given to kind of make your own judgment on things. But again, the nature of truth, the nature of justice, as I say, is the main important thing here. It's not really about this kind of the actual intricacies of the kind of the event. It's about kind of the way it's kind of what it says about humanity, and yes, just everything. The action, the music, of course, just everything. The direction is perfection for me, and this film is immaculate. Just the cinematography is so wonderful, and of course the lens choices, of course, the kind of flat, kind of background, and the foreground is very, very, big and kind of visceral, and you can see, of course, the sweat and everything. That kind of love. It's kind of similar to kind of Leone films in this sense. So yes, it really is a visceral film. But again, a beautiful one. The way that this film is shot, it's mostly in the woods. Kind of, the bit where they're kind of recounting the tales, and the bits in the woods are absolutely wonderful. It really is some of the best cinematography that I've ever seen. That's one thing I do still think, is better than Akira, is the cinematography. It's absolutely stunning. Of course, perfect for that as well, Akira, but this one is another level of cinematography. It really is, up there with Seven Samurai, in terms of that. For Kurosawa, just everything about the film is perfect, and of course, it gets the full marks from me. This film, some people might not like some things about the film, and stuff, but I think for what it's trying to be, in terms of a callback to silent cinema, it is kind of very, theatrical at times, and more fantastical than Akira. That's more kind of like an Ozu film. It's very, very different to that, and of course, it's more fantasy than any of the other Kurosawas that I've seen, really. But yes, it's raw emotions, it's pure. It gets full marks, and of course, it gets a plus, so 100% plus. Tier 3. This film, it really does get into my top 200. This is a very, very special film for me. When I first saw it, I kind of just had a wonderful experience with this. And of course, I was so invested. These characters are so interesting. Of course, the whole mystery of this film. Just the visuals alone, but the whole kind of plot of the film and the way it's told is so mysterious. And then you get to what the film, really is about, and it's kind of even more compelling to go back and see it. Kind of flips the film, and it kind of just deepens the film. And it really is just a wonderful ending as well to the film. Really is stunning. This film is very, very special to me, and of course, highly, highly recommend it if you've not seen it. Of course, yes, it's not my favourite Kurosawa. I think I do now prefer Akira, and I do prefer Seven Samurai. But for me, this is leagues above, say, Yojimbo, Hidden Fortress, and of course, Stray Dog as well. I think. That's pretty average. Pretty disappointed with that one. But yes, I can't wait to see the rest of Kurosawa's work. Really is one of the greatest for me. And I've even seen, Throne of Blood, Ran, all these ones. Kagemusha, the list goes on. Of course, I want to see all of Kurosawa's works, at some point. But it's very, very hard to get hold of, a lot of these on Blu-ray and stuff. Hands down, I want to see pretty much all of these on Blu-ray, so I've got to kind of hold back at times, the price and everything as well. But yes, Rashomon is a masterpiece, among the greatest films of all time. Of course, Highly recommend it. If you have seen it, let me know what you think in the comments, of course. It'd be interesting to see. And yes, because this is kind of, at times this is, considered the best Kurosawa. Other times, maybe not quite top 5. It's kind of a film that's overall very loved. But again, it'd be interesting to see, what you think of the film. Of course, as well, a couple more reviews coming soon. Another Miyazaki film, Castle in the Sky. Rewatched that. Wonderful film. Cannot wait to review that. So yes, of course. Thanks for watching my review.